Aloha and welcome to this first practice WOD for Meteor. This one's called Simple To-Dos, and there's kind of a hefty prelude to it. Will take you, I think, 20-30 minutes actually to work through the prelude. So if you're not reading and skipping immediately to the screencast for some reason, what you need to do is first kind of go through the steps of setting up a repo with a Meteor app in it, and at least at this point I'm stepping you through kind of a a fairly simple-minded approach to it. But basically after you've got Meteor installed, you're going to create a GitHub repo, and then you'll call Meteor create simple to-dos in another directory. You'll have a repo called simple to-dos in one directory that you've created in GitHub and cloned to your local computer. Then in a separate directory you'll call Meteor create simple to-dos. Now you're going to have two directories called Simple To-Dos, and you're going to copy the contents of your Meteor Simple To-Dos directory into the GitHub cloned repo directory, also called Simple To-Dos. And there's basically three files and one subdirectory that you need to copy over. Once it's there, you should be able to cd into your GitHub Simple To-Dos directory, type Meteor, and everything should work fine. Okay, and now of course you can commit this thing to GitHub, and you've got your Meteor app on GitHub. Okay, so after you've done that, then what you want to do is set up your git ignore so that your IntelliJ IDEA files won't be committed to the repo. Create an IntelliJ IDEA project called Simple To-Dos. At this point, you just use static web as the project type, and then point it at the GitHub repo. Everything will work fine. Commit it. And then you should have a repo that looks exactly like this. Please check and make sure that that's what it looks like. And at that point, you can finally go through the first tutorial. Okay, you'll do your editing in IntelliJ. Try to understand all the different steps. There's one step on creating a native app for a mobile. You can skip that one. It's not important for us at this moment, but it's kind of cool to know that you can do that. And then when you finally finished all that and you've got your own version of Simple To-Dos running locally, here's my version running locally on localhost 3000. You see I was fiddling around with things, and I can delete stuff and so forth. Then you commit your code to GitHub. So if you look at my Simple To-Dos repo locally, there's nothing in there that I've changed. It's all been synced with master. So at this point, you're all ready to go for the practice WOD. So if you haven't gone through all those steps, please do all those things before the practice WOD starts. I don't want you to time that aspect. This is way too much of kind of a learning moment here for me to worry about how long it's taking you to get through those steps. Just go through those steps at your own pace. Take your time. Really try to understand, or start to understand, what it means to build web apps in Meteor. Okay, so having done all that, then the actual WOD starts. This is a really kind of the simplest possible WOD in some sense that I'm giving you to get going. We're going to start, and we're going to create a branch called QA1. So one of the things I'm hoping to for you guys to get real comfortable with is this notion that we're going to do increments of work in a branch and then merge them back into master. So we'll create this branch called QA1, and in the GitHub app we automatically switch to that branch. So that's if we hide this and then we go to IntelliJ, where we have our stuff, you can see down here in the lower right hand corner it displays what branch we're actually in Git, and you can see we're now in the QA1 branch. If you don't believe me, we could always go switch back to master and then go over to here, and now you'll see Git master. Okay, so it actually does, you don't have to believe me, you can try it for yourself and you can see that things do what they should. Okay, so we'll go back to IntelliJ IDEA. Well, actually we'll go back to Chrome to find out what we have to do. So we've created the branch called QA1. We're going to add the class standard JSHint.rc file to the project. You'll see that the JSHint.rc file has added into it a bunch of globals for the Meteor framework. All right, so if we access something called with an object called Meteor, in a Meteor app, that's totally fine. That's what you got to do. So these are indeed all the globals that are the kind of the globally defined objects that define this framework. And we want to specify that if JSON comes across them and we are using them in a read-only fashion, that's fine. That's what this false means, is that we should never be kind of updating those objects. We should just be accessing them. Okay, so there's our JSNRC. So we're going to save as, and we'll find Philip M. Johnson. That's where I keep my GitHub stuff, so I'll put it into there. And then if we go to the Finder, we see this, and so I'll call this .jshint.rc. Okay. And then having done that, I can go back to this, I guess, and we'll see what we have to do. Enable JSHint on our Meteor project. So to do that, we go to IntelliJ, Preferences, Languages and Frameworks, JavaScript, Code Quality Tools, JSHint, Enable, Use Config Files. We're going to do the default mode to get the .jsnrc. We'll say OK. And then we'll go, well, okay, so just following along the instructions. So we're going to fix any JSHint errors that exist. So we'll go to IntelliJ IDEA, and we'll look for these problems, and it says tasks is not defined. So what we want to do is tell JSHint that is an object that's exported from export. What is it? Is it exported? Exported tasks. JSON task is not defined. Arg. Okay, so when you run into these problems, the easiest thing to do is to go to the JavaScript coding standards and see what I'm doing wrong. And what I'm doing wrong is exported, the lower exported tasks. JSN task is not defined. We could do it this way. Globals tasks false. Globals tasks no. Exported tasks. Let's go to editor inspections, get rid of the JavaScript ones. Okay, so that was a JavaScript error. Okay, so exported tasks, so we're saying that this is a variable. We're going to define this file, but it's also going to be used in other files. And having done that, we can see that all our JSHint errors are actually taken care of. So if we go back to our assignment, we see we fixed any JSHint errors, and now we're going to add JS doc comments to the code. So we'll go back to IntelliJ IDEA, and now we're going to find the functions. So this is actually not a function definition, so we can leave it that way, or we could, if we wanted to, put in a JS doc comment. So, and then we can say something like that. And then here's a function right here. So these are the functions that that returns all of the tasks for a logged in user. And then does not display any hidden tasks. The tasks. Okay, and then this one is returns true if the completed tasks should be hidden. And oops, sorry. And then returns the count of tasks not yet checked completed, the number of tasks. And up here I'll just put whether the completed tasks should be hidden. Okay, and then here's a function which defines a new task. Okay, so creates and saves a new task. The browser event when a user clicks to create a new task. Okay, and then here, this one is going to set the state of the hide completed session variable, the event indicating whether the user checked or unchecked the box. Okay, and then moving down here, we get returns true if the current user is the owner of this task. Remember, this is in the task template, so this refers to the current task. True if the user owns this task. And then we've got some events for this too. So we got set the checked property, delete the current task, set the check property of the current task, delete the current task, and set the current task to private. And then moving down to this function, well, this is a creates a new task if the current user is logged in. The task name, and then delete task is deletes the current task if, or deletes the task, not the current task because we're in a meteor method, deletes the task ID if the current user owns, if the current user is logged in. If the task is private, then only the owning user can delete it, the task. Okay, then set checked allows allows logged in users to set tasks to checked, and only private tasks can only be updated by their owner. The task ID, what the new value of set checked. Okay, then set private allows the owner of tasks to set of a task to set it as private, the task ID, the new privacy value, to set the private status, because you can make it public if you want, if you're the task owner as well. Okay, so that's some preliminary documentation. So we can save this. We can go to Google Chrome, and we should commit our branch to GitHub. So we'll go to GitHub here. We've made 2 changes. So fix JS hint errors and add JS docs. So we'll commit and sync QA1. And that's about 14 minutes for this. Sorry for the confusion on the JS hint RC stuff at the beginning, but that gave you a couple extra minutes. And so that's good enough. For this particular experience, we're going to go on, and in the next experience we'll actually change some Meteor code, which will be a little more exciting. But I hope this is getting you engaged with the framework.